Hey guys, Evan Miranda here. Today I wanted to give you guys a brief look at working with barriers. The thing that I consistently see when people are working with barriers is they want to suck up on the barrier like this, which this feels wonderful. But the problem with this is I have to roll out to see what the problem is. And if you guys will remember to the shooting a year or two ago in Texas, where I forget if it was Dallas or Houston, I forget, where there was a parade going on and a guy showed up with an AK, I believe it was, and started shooting everything up, and one of the officers was trading shots with the guy, and he sucked up on the cover, and he looked to where the last place was that he'd seen the bad guy, and actually it was this side. Anyways, the bad guy came around and flanked him and burned him to the ground, because that officer, it wasn't his fault, that officer had never been trained to work cover like this. When you are engaging, you're engaging, and then you suck up on cover, come back out again, somewhere else if possible, and engage. This guy didn't know any better, and he sucked up on cover, and he ate it. Now, what's interesting about working cover is, and I have to talk fast because there's a storm coming. What's interesting about working cover is, like my buddy Chase Jenkins always says, he goes, man, this feels really good, and it does. This sucking up on cover when bullets are coming by you feels really, really good. But the fact of the matter is you've got more control over the fight if you're here, if you're working your cover from here. Because from here I can set up on a visual line and I can get my weapon, even if this were a 16-inch barrel, I could get my weapon up in the ready position and I can drop out and come back. Every one of the shots on that bad guy were all right here. I saw them because I'm looking through a micro T1 and I can actually see where my bullet hits are. So even if that guy were wearing body armor, and I mean hard armor, I'd still get shots over the top of his armor because I was actually hitting up here. Now that works if I have the space, if I also have the ability to be working off of cover. But what if I'm not only taking fire from this guy, but I'm also taking fire from someone there and someone there? Now all of a sudden, let's make believe this is taller. All of a sudden, I'm now having to work cover from here. Well, you can work here, and then you can compress the weapon in tight and move. Right? I'm sucked up on cover, and yet I'm still able to work it the way I want to. Disregard the fact that if I find a hole in that wall, I can definitely work that. Yeah, that's a whole lot of misery right there. Basically, the quick overview of what I'm talking about here is whenever possible, you want to stand off of your cover. Here, I've got a lot more control over where my shots are going to go. Now, as a lefty, I can't successfully work cover on the right side because to actually get exposed enough to get shots on this guy, I've got to give him the majority of my body before I finally have enough of him to hit. So I can always transition. And this is where red dots really come in handy, because with a red dot, disregard the notion of aiming. With a red dot, you are looking at the threat, you're placing the red dot on the threat, and you're pulling the trigger. So I set up and come back in again. Same thing works if I'm working really close to cover. Here it's going to be harder to get my shot clean because I'm so close to this cover. I'm going to have to practice sliding out and bringing the weapon up very quickly. If at all possible, I want to avoid breaking this line right here, because if I set up here, he sees me coming. He saw my foot coming. This is why, by the way, this is why in TV shows and movie, when I see people having discussions like this with the bad guy, and you're literally looking at him, like I'm talking to this guy over here, he sees my foot, he probably can see my knee, he can see all of this right here. So if nothing else, he can spray shots at my rifle, in this case an AR-15 pistol. He can spray shots at me, he can spray shots at my cover. But if I'm set up properly, he's never going to see me coming. So on this side, when I'm working cover over here, and I'm working cover close, I'm going to have a very practiced hand at coming out, bringing my weapon up, centering up on the target where I need to be, and getting my shots. But I cannot break that line. And you'll notice how easy it is to throw yourself out. So you've got to have a leg anchored out here. That's a loose and fast look at working cover. Now the last thing that I want to leave you with is, let's say you want to work underneath the vehicle. I hate shooting this close to these things because when you're shooting on the ground it's rather painful, but I'm going to go ahead and show this to you guys anyways. When you go down, the thing is, we always want to do this type of thing because this feels natural, it feels normal, but in reality the angle that you want to get is actually this. And this changes everything right here. Now all of a sudden, I've got all the ground clearance, now I've got all the visual clearance that I need. And what's interesting from here is my optic is actually obscured by the inside of this barrel. But by placing my optic on the inside of the barrel, it makes sure that the muzzle is actually clearing that window. And whenever possible, get back on your feet because mobility is your friend. If that guy starts advancing on you, you've got to be able to see him coming and you've got to be able to move on him. Because remember, there's no such thing as a static gunfight. He should be moving if he has any brains about him. He should be moving and you should be moving as well. So that's what I've got for you guys today. As always, I thank you for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out and practice. Have a good one.